Thank you very much, Jan. You may now take a deep breath after that very long talk. I know that that the time flew so fast, but we are happy that you were able to share a lot in that quick span of time. And we have a few questions already, and I'd like to read some of them. Well, in fact, all of them, because I know that we will have time for all of them. Allow me to throw at you the first question. Okay. Uh, I noticed that most of the questions are coming from students of architecture, so those who will become architects and hopefully even urban designers in the future. But I also see one question coming from a faculty member. So let me start off with the first question. Uh, and I'll read as stated in the chat box. So uh, Gian Matias actually is already a graduate of our program, and he says, "Hi, I am Gian, an alumnus of Benilde and a trend researcher from ACID. The overpopulation threshold or pattern has already been crossed by developed countries such as the United Kingdom and France, which developing countries still try to overcome. Is the disruption of the human scale in urban design an inevitable threshold pattern that developing countries have lived through?"
As you can see from my examples, when I look back at my professional life, I have mostly worked in big cities, and most of them have been in the richer parts of the world. We have worked in South America, in South Africa, and in some Arab countries, but I don't know too much about the situation in places like in the Philippines. But it is my really conviction that if you make a people first policy, it will take less room and it will be cheaper and will be for the benefit of more people than any other policy. So it's really something which can be used worldwide, wherever you have Homo sapiens, regardless of the policy, of the economy of the various cities, and also regardless of the size of the city.
Okay. There's another question coming from another student, and he greets you. "Hi, Mr. Gehl. Thank you for doing this lecture with us." And this is coming from Diego Almeida. "Manila," and he's describing the city now. "Manila has the worst traffic congestion in Southeast Asia. And we would probably benefit most from more humane and designed streets. My question is, was your proposal to convert roads into bicycle lanes met with resistance from automobile users and lawmakers? Can you tell us more on how you overcame the initial challenges and doubt?"
Oh yeah. On some other occasions, I would say that in all the 200 cities where I have worked, it always started that people say these ideas doesn't work here because we are different and we cannot change. And they looked upon the present situation as if that was given by God, but it is not given by God. It is made by market forces or maybe some deliberate policies. And in all these cities, when this transformation has been made, people have been much more happy about it. And also, generally, it's a very good policy to show what the alternative would be. Many of those who protest, they don't know about the alternative policies. They just can see what there is now, and they are worried about any change. So in most of the cities, they've actually done it experimentally in small steps, and then they have rolled it out so that people can get used to it. But what has happened, say, in Sydney and in New York is very much that they just took some lanes out from the car and gave them to the bicycles.
Okay, thank you. Another question
And
is
I could
coming
also
from...
mention
Oh,
one
sorry.
thing
Yeah,
more, that a
continue.
bicycle lane can take 5 times more people than a car lane can take. So if there are many people in a city, it's a very good policy to have bicycle lanes instead of car lanes.
All right. Thank you for that. There's another question, Yan. This is coming from Erwin Christian Soriano, who says that my home city is encouraging cycling and walking, but we are located in the mountains. Cycling and walking is challenging for a normal person because of the steep terrain. What solution can be done to address this problem?
I have worked in many mountainous cities, and some of the things we have done, that is maybe to identify the area of the city which is not hilly, and say in this part, the flat part of the city, we can make a good bicycle system. In the city of Hobart in Australia, we found that the university and the hospital and a lot of working places, a lot of dwellings were in the flat part. So by making bicycle system in the flat part, all the students and the people working in the hospitals and universities, whatever, they could bicycle. And then there would be a few rich people living in the hills, and there will be another story. But again, electric bicycles have helped to overcome a few hills here and there.
Okay. Jay Paras from our audience greets you. Hi, Jan. Thank you for your very relevant talk. And his question goes, what are your thoughts regarding the advent of autonomous vehicles? Will this technology have a significant impact on how we design urban spaces?
No doubt that we will see very many good technological developments which can help in city planning. But it will take many years before all these things are very costly, and the investment in these new technologies will be very costly and will take time, and it will take a long time before they are used in all parts of the world. So that's why I recommend that go for the cheap and easy one, start with the people, and then add more smart city solution and add autonomous cars as you can afford it. But it's always a good idea to start with the base, make it good for the people, that you can start right away, cost you next to nothing.
All right. Another of our audience members wants to greet you. Ryan Chai Cabanes greets you. Good day, Architect Jan Gehl. Can technology like the internet, artificial intelligence, or maybe robotics be helpful tools in pursuing the model of human scale design for future cities?
Again, this is a very wide subject. And I would normally say that regardless of how many smartphones and screens we have, we all of us would like to meet other people directly, to use our own senses directly, to interact directly. So we can do a lot of interactive things, but the real good public space where you can meet your fellow citizens in a quiet way and see what society you're part of, that has been throughout history of man very important, and it still is.
Okay. One of our faculty members would like to ask a question. Architect Amila Rodil, happy to be able to listen to Jan Gehl himself as we discussed his principles in class. So one of our faculty members actually use your material and talks about you and your work extensively in one of our courses in architecture, which is planning. And the question is, this is more of a suggestion than a question. She says, it would be good for the School of Design and Arts, that's the school where we belong to contribute to research in Manila on how to make it a better place for people, similar to how the university partnered with the city of Copenhagen. So I suppose she's just putting out the idea out there that what you have actually done can be a strategy for us here in Manila, and particularly in our school. So I think she's putting it out there more as a suggestion, and I'd like to thank her for that.
I think that it is a question we can refer to Her Excellency, the ambassador from Denmark, to try if these two schools could be connected.
That's great. Anyway, thank you for that response. I also would like to read a question coming from one of our former faculty members who is currently in Japan, finishing his doctoral studies. Architect Richard Martin Rinen says, "Thank you for your talk, Mr. Gehl. I am Richard, a former faculty of the School of Design and Arts, and he belongs to the architecture program. The Philippines is always visited with at least more than 20 typhoons annually, causing floods in major cities. What are your thoughts on disaster planning in urban design?"
Again, this is a very wide subject. But the cities all over the world are experiencing more extreme weather situations, and they are coping in various ways. In my part of the world, it's especially very strong rains which have occurred, and they are now making public spaces so that they are much better to absorb great number of much rain, much water, and sort of soak it up so it doesn't run into the buildings. So they make whole areas which are like a sponge where you can soak up the water, and using the public space to do it. And when there's no water, it's a wonderful green public space. But every place in the world have different conditions and different challenges. So I will not be able to address really the typhoons in Philippines. I know it's very severe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but before I read the next question, I really hope that at some point we can walk you through our streets and for you to actually experience Manila. And we're looking forward to that opportunity with you. I'd like to read another question, and this is coming from one of our students, Elki Tiotico. Hello, I'm Elki, also a trend researcher from ACID and an architecture student of the School of Design and Arts. I would like to ask if your studies on making more livable cities were accumulated from your years of people watching, and if there are any especially interesting nuggets or findings from it that you have found to be valuable in understanding what brings us together as equal humans.
It is indeed connected. And I told about it in my talk, that first you do 40 years of research, and then you can start to apply this research in real life. Actually, what happened in my case was that we did all the research, we wrote books, and we lectured about it. And then mayors from various cities start to come and say, couldn't you come and tell us what to do instead of writing all these books? And that was the beginning of starting to try to apply the research to real life. And that was what I showed you some examples of. And of course, the city which had applied most of it is Copenhagen, where all the time we were able to influence very directly from the university to the towns, to the city hall. And they picked it up very quickly because they realized that that was good ideas and good stuff which they could use in their policies for making a better city.
All right. I'd like to read one more question from our audience. And he actually has asked a question already earlier, but I think he has one more very interesting question. This is coming from Gian Matias. And it's quite long, so allow me to read it very slowly so that you can hear it clearly. Do you think our urban landscapes were somehow ready for the pandemic? Were there hidden opportunities in the existing fabric that turned out to be beneficial in terms of combating COVID-19? Would there be drastic changes in terms of urban design and planning? Or will these new design protocols die down organically depending on how the collective trauma our cities experience carry it out?
That, of course, also has been widely discussed. I think there's one thing I have noticed, that cities which are very people-friendly, they have always also been able to adapt to the pandemic situation better. That means that people have had ample green space, ample recreational space where they could go for walks and get exercise while there is a lockdown. So we have found that a good people city is also a better city in a pandemic. There are many questions about whether we shall in the future design our cities in another way. And I've heard all these completely silly suggestions that we shall forget human scale and make all sidewalks 8-meter wide and make all lifts 6 by 6 meter so that we can keep a good distance forever after. That's nonsense ideas. We will find when we have the vaccine that Homo sapiens will go back to live as Homo sapiens have done throughout centuries. So it's just a bump on the road, this one. We tried with tuberculosis to change the whole fabric of the cities so that we can combat tuberculosis. And now we have severe social problems in these anti-tuberculosis housing areas. So we shall be very careful of trying to be doctors. Let the doctors do what they have to do, and we can do what we can do.
All right. I think there's one more question coming from Angelo of the Danish Embassy. What are the better ways to decongest people that visit malls, shopping malls, and make them slowly appreciate the outdoors? Malls in the Philippines have become a leisurely trend for well-being. Reasons, however, as a result, there can be a disregard for potentially useful public spaces.
I think that is an area I don't know too much about. I know that there are great changes in the way we do our shopping, that more and more shopping are done on the internet, and that actually means that we have less to do in cities and do more shopping from home. And that is, to me, a well understandable but very problematic development. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't know how to tangle with the Philippine shopping malls. I think it's a universal problem.
All right.
But you'll have to find out your solutions yourself.
Yes, I guess it's a challenge for us who have a lot of shopping malls in this country.
But to me, all this is a matter of mindset. It's a matter of how you think and what kind of goals you have with your city planning. And to me, it's very important to shift the goals from making it very good for motor cars and for retail into making the cities very good for day life of Homo sapiens.
All right. I think it's just fitting that we end the question and answer portion by again putting on the spotlight Her Excellency Grete Silesen, our Danish ambassador to the Philippines, who would like to give some comments.
Yes, Jan kindly said that maybe I could comment on the part of making contacts with authorities. And I would like to say that this is indeed a role for the embassy, and it's something that we are doing already. For example, we are in contact with Quezon City that is at the forefront with wishes to introduce bike lanes, for example, but also how to fight diabetes, which is one of the side effects of the cities where we don't move. So there are so many aspects that tie together. To be very honest, when I came here, I found that it was very chaotic to see where to start and where to end with 16 municipalities and not a very good coordination in this big and chaotic city, which Manila is. And somehow there has been an opening with the COVID-19. For example, people started taking back the streets on their bikes because there was no transportation. They couldn't go in cars. There was no public transportation. And I know that those bike lanes, interim bike lanes, can very easily lose out again to the cars, because as Jan mentioned also, it's always a fight when cars have to give away space to other kinds of traffic. They only see themselves sitting even longer in the long lanes every day. But this is a process that's ongoing and where we have to change the mindset of people. We are working on that, and actually our good colleagues from the Dutch Embassy and the Swedish Embassy, we are pushing this agenda together, hopefully with the EU. And then I noticed also that the president himself, Duterte, declared that every fourth Sunday of November would be biking day. I know that's not enough. In Copenhagen, we have 365 days of biking, but it's a first step that the president go out and say, we want this, and we have to follow up. And we would be very happy to work with you because you can help the decision makers with your knowledge, and we can share the experience. And hopefully, Jan, one day you can travel again and you can come to the Philippines. We would be so happy to welcome you in Manila. Yes, let's work on that. Let's hope that it will become possible. So there is a lot to follow up, because you look at this fantastic life work of Jan over the last 60 years, and where do you start and where do you end? But we start with this, and we start with the conversation, and we start with approaching the decision makers, because we have to involve the decision makers also. Private initiative is great. Actually, I participated in a biking event with the SM malls a couple of months ago, and that's great that one of these malls have actually produced bike lanes. They have a bike repair shop. They have bike parking, which is essential. If you go on your bike, where do you park your bike? So private initiative, the knowledge that you represent in the decision makers. And then if some of us could be the influencers. So let's make sure that we follow up on this. So this is not a hit and run event, but this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship where we keep on working. It's a long process and it's step by step. And we would be very, very happy to continue to be in that process.
That's exciting. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Okay, so I think that's a perfect wrap up to our question and answer portion. And at this point, before we formally end our program for this afternoon, I'd now like to pass on the stage or the screen to Architect Harvey Vazquez, who is the program chairperson for the architecture program of the Salle-College of Saint Benilde School of Design and Arts for his closing remarks. And we'll see you again in a bit after the closing remarks for a few announcements, and of course for a rare opportunity to have our photo session with our guest speaker. So you may take it away, Architect Harvey.
Thank you, Sir Nand. Thank you, Jan, for this wonderful opportunity for us. And I would like to start off my closing remarks by reiterating our desire for a longer collaborative effort between us, our institution, the Salle-College of Saint Benilde, and the Royal Danish Embassy. We believe that our institution is the perfect medium for this kind of livable city, as we are in the center of a bustling city like Maynila. So this is where we are positioned in the city is a great opportunity for us to try on this ethos. I actually really enjoyed the talk, especially when you mentioned the edges, and the solutions are really simple in nature. But I know that the simpler the problems, the more complex the solutions can be. And in terms of being in that direction, being in that right direction, the steps that we have been taking during this pandemic, introducing bike lanes. Personally, I live in San Juan, and we've already enforced strict bike lanes for all our interior roads. It's a first step. I know it's a small step, but it's a step in the positive direction. And looking at your presentation, Yan, I feel like a lot of these are really personal scale in nature. So some of it, of course, I understand, like public transport, we would have to have the permission to make changes or the support of the legislation. But some of the solutions are actually human scale that we ourselves can already enforce readily. And I think just the idea of incorporating this, starting in the laboratory of our institution, is a great first step. Realizing, okay, bike lanes are needed. We have to accommodate PWD. So when we do our design, projects, all of this are already plugged in. So this could trickle out of our institution. So I am looking at this as an opportunity for us to really strengthen this kind of thinking, this thinking of designing through experience, and we hope to further that kind of engagement when we do come back in our campus when we do have our face-to-face in the future. And hopefully, in our vision, we can host a masterclass in the near future. And I think our institution is ready and raring for that kind of opportunity. And and that will not only benefit our institution, but this would also benefit the whole region of Southeast Asia if we can also invite the other countries to participate, because we ourselves are also experiencing almost the same problems, and it's time to shift that thinking. And I know the new generation are really more they are more forceful in demanding what they need and what they want. And I think this is also an important component in making this successful. We have to demand better cities, just like why and how we are demanding better governance. So these are all hand in hand, and we have to step up and we have to be heard. And then I think it starts small, but that would trickle in, because if we all appreciate and really understand what Jan has presented us, these are all they all are seemingly are simple and small interventions, but the effect is wider because the scale is more humanized, the scale is more with the forceful intent of the users. So thank you, Jan. Thank you, Your Excellency Grete Seletsen, for bringing this talk to us, and we hope for a longer partnership, and in the near future, we would be having or hosting a masterclass of Jan Gehl in our institution. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Architect Harvey. Thank you for the closing remarks. Again, on behalf of the School of Design and Arts Architecture program, I'd like to um, personally thank our guest speaker, Jan Gehl, and of course, also the Royal Danish Embassy in Manila, as headed by Her Excellency Grete Silasen, for this opportunity for us to directly listen and hear the presentation of someone who has contributed much in the way our environments are designed. Um, of course, this is not the last that we will hear from our guest speaker. And I know that everyone is excited to personally meet you, Jan. And we know that that will happen soon when everything is better for everyone. Um, Before we formally end or before we officially end and before our photo ops, I'd like to request our members of the audience to spare us 2 minutes of your time, and perhaps you can do it a bit later. Just make sure you copy the link and post it in the chat box is a link to our survey, which a feedback form would of course be very useful for us to better plan our future webinars, our future events. So we request everyone to please click that link and then fill it up very quickly. But at this point, I'd now like to invite everyone to turn on your video, and this is for, of course, for a rare souvenir photo with our guests. Of course, I say guests because the Danish embassy is represented by at least 3 people in the audience. So, PJ, we can wait. All right. So I think this will, because there's a lot of us. I'm happy to to see that this will take 5 shots because there are 5 pages and we are currently 100 in attendance. A while ago it was more, but I don't know where the others are. So before they fall out, let's start the photo op, and I will do it so that you can just smile at least 5 times. Okay, so let's begin. So the first slide, just be ready. So I'll take on the first slide. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. So hang on. I will now move on to the next page. Okay. Okay, next page. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, we go on to the next page. Okay, and others are, okay, others are turning on their videos now. Avinash, if you want to join the, okay, anyway. So in 3, 2, 1, and just one more. Patience is a virtue. Okay, so one last page. All right, so if you haven't turned on your video, you can do it now so we can include you in the shot. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, so again, and that wraps up our photo opportunity. At this point, I'd like to, and before I close this session, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our dean, the dean of the School of Design and Arts, Architect Acela Domingo. Would you like to say a few words, Dean Acela?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this webinar. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend and listen to Architect Jan's talk, but I would like to ask for a recording so that I can learn from this session. But I see from the questions there's a difference in the way the architecture students and the professionals are thinking, because we're not just asking for direct solutions, but we're actually looking into the design process and asking the question why things are happening this way, and why the designs are like this, and why the fabric is like this. So I think we're in the right path, because it's only in asking the right questions that we can find the right solutions. So currently what we have right now with this pandemic, I think it's very important that we all work together, learning from the best practices of the different countries, but all together as Filipinos, I think we also need to find our own solutions, because it's really in the context of our country, our weather patterns and our environment, that we need to find solutions to continue with our nation building. So I think we're in the right path, and congratulations to this very wonderful webinar. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you to PJ, Nandi, and Harvey, and to the rest of the organizers. And thank you, of course, to Her Excellency Grete Salacen and Architect Jan Gehl. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Dina Sela, for those words. I know that I caught you by surprise, but
I know.
but we are happy that you were still able to join us this afternoon. I know that you have a very busy schedule, but
sorry, I came from 6 other meetings.
I know that's your usual average
Yes.
number of meetings, but again, I'm grateful also that we are present here now in contact with the Danish Embassy, and of course, again, our words of gratitude are not enough to express how much we appreciate your time, especially. I know that we are in 3 different time zones, but here we are. Keeping us together is this sharing of ideas. And again, we look forward to personally meeting both of you, and welcoming you to Jan, of course, welcoming you to our country, and hopefully that will happen very soon. Again, thank you. And I think this is how our day will end at this point. And this, of course, is not just the end of this session, but a new beginning for us to establish this connection and relationship with the Danish Embassy of Manila. And of course, with you, Jan. I know that our students would be very much, especially those who have been studying your work and your following your journey. I know that they would enjoy and appreciate getting in touch with you. So I hope it's perfectly okay for them to email you or get in touch with you and connect with you. And thank you in advance for opening yourself to us, and we look forward to another sharing session like this with you. Thank you, and we wish everyone a safe journey back home if you're not home. But if you are, stay safe and stay indoors. And we look forward to the year ahead. But at the same time, of course, we have days left in our school term to finish our course requirements. And this is just a friendly reminder to all students and faculty that I know that it's already Christmas season, but we have work to finish over the next few weeks. Again, thank you very much. And we will be posting this recording so that the others can, or you can watch this again for you to learn again whatever was discussed. Thank you and goodbye to everyone. Thank you, Jan. Thank you to her. Thank you to Your Excellency and Angelo also for helping us coordinate, and Joni also earlier today for coordinating with us and helping us in organizing this event.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Angelo.
Bye-bye, everybody.